Somebody wanted me to talk about being in the property preservation field. Property preservation is basically when you maintain a foreclosed property for banks and asset management companies. Asset management companies, they own some of the properties. Also, they manage these properties for the bank, for Fannie Mae, for Freddie Mac, for HUD, and then they contract it out to guys like myself to do the work. And of course, they're the middleman, so they get a percentage. So I've been doing it for like 4 or 5 years. No, since 2014. So this May will make it next yeah, to what 6 years? Yeah, been doing it for 6 years. It's pretty cool. At the height of the property preservation, I'll say like 2015, 2016, 2017. I will generate a decent amount of money for somebody who, or for someone who's not familiar with the field, or someone who was not passionate about the field. I jumped in there head first, and I did okay. I did okay, but some of the trials and tribulations of that field is when you go to a home and you're doing a thing called initial secure. You're going there, you're changing the locks, you're putting up paperwork to let individuals know that this bank is maintained or run by a certain company. And sometimes you'll be sent to a property and not know if somebody's still living there. And there has been situation where went to property, someone was living there, that they change, we have to put their locks back on, or they went to work or something, or went to a property to check if someone lived there. That's more like an inspection, and then they were disgruntled and like, what you doing on my property? And you know some of the trials and tribulation of the property preservation, you go into certain neighborhoods, and because you may be of a different ethnicity or a different race, they might call the cops on you. I've been in a situation where I went to a property, my friend and I, my co-worker, I would say someone that worked with me at times, we went to a property, we changed the lock. In the backyard, we had some Hispanic guys over. They were neighbors, and they saw us in the backyard. We had to go. We had to go there to change the lock. I had a work order that states, "Hey, go to the property and verify if the lock is working or not. If the lock is not working, change the locks per regulation, per regs." Which went there, was a filthy property. I didn't even want to go inside the property. How dirty it was and how filthy it was, and just smelled so mold and everything. So we stand on the back porch or back deck, because it was like we had to walk up to the deck, and it was in like a poor neighborhood, so it was like AKA ghetto neighborhood, um, and like I wouldn't want to go in the house. So to the point where I got a little stool and I put it on like the back deck area to sit right there on the stool to change the lock. So while I'm changing the lock, and I noticed this, the neighbor's looking at me like I said, some older Spanish guy, and a younger Spanish guy. I'm like, hey, I'm here with the bank. I'm just changing the lock. So we out there for. I was out there for a good 25 minutes or so, just sitting on the deck on the chair changing the lock, because it was like a complicated lock, and I changed it. And my guy that was working with me, he went to the truck to get something or bring something to the truck. I don't remember exactly. Long story short, all I heard was, "What are you doing?" I turn around, there's a gun pointed at me by a police officer, right? He's coming from the neighbor's side. Then I saw my homie came around like, "Yo, there's a whole bunch of cops outside by the vehicle." He's like, "There's at least 30, 40 cops." I'm like, "What?" All we were doing was, all I was doing was changing the lock. And also we had several properties to go to that day. And I came around, all these guns, all of a sudden, all these guns were drawn on me from my left and right side. And I had a friend of mine that was in the car outside. They drew gun on him as well. Now, I had paperwork to verify what I was doing at the property. And the cops came and they were like, "What are you doing?" And walked down the steps, hands up in the air. I had a drill in my hand, so I hold the drill up. So I was kind of scared because I didn't want to think it was a gun and try to shoot me or anything. So I slowly walked down the steps. And when I walked down the steps, it just felt surreal, like what's going on. And, you know, I wasn't out of body, out of mind or anything like that. I just slowly did it. And I wasn't even really comprehending the exact situation. So walked down the steps, told me hand behind your back, lean up against the wall. He did that. They did that to me and my friend that was working with me. So we got behind, they had us on the fence and what you guys doing? I say, listen, my name is such and such. I work with such and such company. I'm here to change the locks for the company. The neighbors over there, I informed them, let them know I was changing the locks for the company because it was like a foreclosed home. It was in a very bad shape. So it's not like we were trying to rob or steal anything. And for the most part, throughout the whole process, while we were there, I was sitting on the back porch just trying to get the lock off, change the lock, whatever the case may be. So, like, even after this, after they got me down the steps, my friend is back there as well. They had him in the back of the property, and um, our hands behind our back. I showed them my military ID because I'm in the military. I showed them my regular ID. Then they looked at me, and then my friend said, "Yo, so why you guys?" So I think after a while they took the gun off my friend, I think he had stand up or something. But after a while, he was like, "Yo, why do you still have the gun drawn on my friend? He show you his ID, he show you the paperwork." And then after he said that to them, they took the guns away, like put their guns down back in their holster. And he like, "Oh, sorry, 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 sir." He saw the military ID, so their attitude started changing, and they give me the paperwork. So long story short, that's just one example of being at a property where police was police they were called for no reason. And I say no reason because we weren't being shady or trying to do something slick while we were at the property. We were out in plain sight. Our vehicle was in front. You could see the drill in my hand. You could see the the locks. The neighborhood, it was a bright evening, maybe around 3 o'clock, 2:33, 3:30 or so. And they could clearly see what we were doing. So the fact that they called the cops, and the thing about it, this house was an old, broken down house. So why they need to call the cops? It was like, I know for a fact those older Hispanic guy, the older gentleman and the other guy. So I was telling my friend the only reason they called the cops, I feel it was a drug house because in certain poor, dilapidated neighborhoods, sometimes they have stash houses, and that was my personal opinion because the locks were changed before by another contractor. So when I went there, I guess when I went there to verify if the locks, if they were working or not, um, what you're like, it should be working because we have the regulation locks on there, and the regulation locks we have like a master key that open all those locks, all the contractors. So they want me to go to verify because I guess when they send the inspectors out, the inspector could not gain access to the property, right? And because they couldn't gain access to the property, that's the reason why they send myself out to go verify and change the locks if that's the case. And like I said, who would want to break into this house? It was like filthy and dirty to the. So I'm not even going to go more into it. But long story short, that's one example of what happens to an individual when you work in the property preservation field. And it's kind of fun at times, you know. At the height of it, it was very rewarding because sometimes you go to a property and let's just say you remove a 5 feet by 4 feet piece of carpet and you get paid $200 for that. Come on now, seriously? You buy At times we were tarping a roof that maybe like what 1,500 square feet or 1,400 square feet, and you get $1,400 to do $1,400 to do that. So that might take you an hour, and the wood strips you need might cost what? Let's say $20, and the tarp itself might cost another $200, just to say that. The nails, your hammer, but after a while you purchase the hammer, you utilize it. So, um, you make an easy $1,000 off that job. It might take you 2 hours, then you're on to the next property. So it was very, very financially rewarding that time, I would say, at the height of it. But now that has changed a little bit, and I will get into that in some other videos. But that's just one situation that occurred while doing the property preservation, and I'm telling you, it's just unbelievable at times things you hear on TV, but you're like, oh, it never happened to you until you're really on the streets working every day and just trying to make a living, and how people perceive you or how people act and react towards you. But I'm telling you, that's just one situation of being in the property preservation. I'll definitely be giving you guys some more insight, guys, some more information on developing a profitable property preservation business.